Hi, today we're talking about GOBOTS, issue 2 of GOBOTS to be specific. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and you can pre-order that book by following the pre-order link in the show notes below, and at that same link, you can pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. You can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli, and you can go to my Patreon. If you support my Patreon, you'll have access to the full archives of various comics projects I've worked on in the past couple years, as well as new things as I post them. So here it is, GOBOTS, a real labor of love, a project that I pitched to them. I came to IDW and said, I've got GOBOTS on the brain. I have a GOBOTS story I want to tell. Can we make this happen? And we did. Issue 1 had Leader 1 on the cover with an orange background. Issue 2 has a close-up of Psykill with, a blue background. The background being like the backgrounds of the GOBOTS toys. They had an orange gridded background for the good guys and a blue gridded background for the bad guys. So I keep that theme intact here. And yeah, we got a close-up on Psykill, and I was always fascinated with the faces of the GOBOTS toys. I felt like, sort of looking at those faces, they had a story to tell, and so I zoom in on Psykill's face, and there's a lot more going on there than you would assume. He's a complicated figure, as are all of the GOBOTS in this story. And I made sure to put my name above the title, because this is an auteur work. This is the complete work of one hand, and I gave it a very handmade look, which is sort of a hallmark of most of my recent my comics works. I drew it in pencil, I colored it, and I wrote it, and I lettered it myself. We begin with a story of a character we haven't seen yet. This is Screwhead, one of the GOBOTS I had as a kid. And again, I like the GOBOTS, I tried to put them in their sort of, specific element. Leader 1 was a fighter jet, so that's what he really was. He was a fighter jet that could turn into a robot and was, used for military missions. Scooter is a scooter. That's somebody who would have a scooter, a young person, college age maybe. Has Scooter and uses him for transportation, and then he turns into a robot and can do other things, and companionship and friendship. And so here, Screwhead with his drill, which is kind of like a cliche of robot toys. Screwhead is a mining robot, and his operator, his partner is a miner. He works in the mines, and there's the sort of same real world issues of working in a job that's as dangerous as mining, and the artificial intelligence of the GOBOTS is such that the human operators, their human partners, form real relationships with them. And just all the with AI sort of being in the news lately, it just seems like this was sort of a good call that I sort of made this artificial intelligence more advanced than you would typically see in a work of science fiction, just because the real world AI was making huge advances, and so this idea of like an artificial intelligence that seems to have a personality and just talks like a human being is it's no longer something of the far distant future. It might actually be something of the past. We might actually be here already, and we just haven't quite woken up to that fact. We're almost done here. Looks like you'll be able to make it to your daughter's play after all. She was practicing all month. I'm glad I won't miss it. Whoa, roof fall. Hold on. Roof fall. That was in my research for this. That was something I learned about some mining terminology. They fall into the abyss. Are you okay, Vernon? A little shaken up, but otherwise fine, Screwhead. Go. I said go. Thanks. We'll both get out of this. Look out. And then another collapse. I eventually clawed my way out. My friend was not as lucky. That mine was unstable, and the bosses knew it. Our lives mean nothing to them. Our deaths mean even less. It's time for us to return the favor, brother. Psych Hill is unifying the GOBOTS, this devalued, exploited class that's just sort of, they're what they want out of life is, completely 100% disregarded by, the structure that's in power. We're going to set things right. You, dispose of him. I don't want to see his iron hide around here anymore. Take him to the dump. So in the previous issue, we saw, Psych Hill defeat Leader One in combat, and now they're gonna dump him. And as those two guys are going to dump Leader One, Psych Hill is leading his renegade gang of marauders, and so they go to Big Pharma, a open 24/7 pharmacy, and then they just completely torch it and they move on. And then there's a power plant, and they destroy the power plant and cuts out the power in the city. There's panic as terrorize the city. One of the cars eats a human, chomps him with the hood coming up. Psych Hill sees a line of humans running away from him, and he just kicks them in the air. AJ isn't sure what to think. Is her friend Scooter going to turn on her too? The way all the robots seem to have, turned on everybody. I would never let anything happen to you. And at the end of the previous issue, that was uncertain. We didn't know. And it was a little bit sinister because Scooter, up to that point, was such a good friend and so cute. But we don't know what goes on in these electronic minds. And you think about how he was in the GOBOTS TV series. He was sort of this, childlike, innocent. I don't remember who his voice was, but it sounded like Howie Mandel's Bobby's World voice. I would never let anything happen to you. You're my best friend. You're my best friend too. You're just saying that because I did. When people write robots, they do still kind of write them kind of stiff, and they don't have a sense of humor. But I think that's completely obsolete. So that was a choice. I thought I'm gonna let give these GOBOTS a sense of humor, and they're gonna get the best lines. The humans are gonna be kind of like the straight men, and the GOBOTS are gonna be the ones who get the good lines. And so boom. So this extended action scene sort of unfolds from here on. He turns into his scooter form. AJ gets on, and she's weaving through GOBOT traffic. We get the Akira bike slide. She turns around. She's getting chased. And then, we're at a diner, and a Volkswagen Beetle crashes through and starts shooting up the place. And it's Bug Bite, the GOBOT Volkswagen Beetle. And, as a kid growing up with GOBOTS and Transformers, it's like, okay, Transformers has their Volkswagen Beetle, which is, this small Transformer that's kind of a major character in the cartoon. And then we have Bug Bite, who's this like giant GOBOT who has really, as far as I recall, no role in the cartoon. And so, and they always had like these larger GOBOTs. They would have like the passenger compartment would sort of, become the head on the robots, but there was no actual sort of face inside. So I put like a little horned bumblebee helmet inside. And then we get this guy, I forget his name, but I always liked his design. He turns into this kind of sci-fi tank, and he like knocks down the dam, and now we've got flooding. And again, I was sort of taking my cue from sort of action cinema. And so, it's like one of those scenes you would have where someone's like trying to outrun a flood. So there's this flood coming her way, and she's riding on scooter, and then they go up the steps of this parking garage, and then they're going up the steps. The water just keeps coming and coming. And up there's Turbo. Uh-oh, you stay back. Hey, we're friendly. Turbo is a good guy. Hey, little one. What's going on out there? GOBOTS are hurting people on purpose. The G-chip is supposed to prevent that. This is first law of GOBOTIcs stuff. It's weird how our GOBOTs seem to be immune to all this. I hate it when you talk about me like I'm not here, Matt. Again, letting the GOBOTs have a sense of humor and a personality. I told you before, I'm a nice guy because I'm a nice guy. No G-chip is going to change that. So what's the plan? Plan? I'm just trying to get out of town in one piece, ride this out until it blows over. What if it doesn't blow over? We might have the only two GOBOTS who aren't total jerks. Don't you think it's our duty to fight back? Now she's doing it. 2 against a million? What kind of fight is that? I don't mean literally fight. Our city is a GOBOT hub. The Tonka building's not too far. If we can make it there, maybe there's some kind of patch or something we can upload. Don't you think that's something we should leave to the pros, the police, the government, the army, Silicon Valley, the GOBOT industry? Whoop, whoop. It's their job, not ours. Hey, we're up here. And I love being able to do these like transforming sequences. You see a GOBOT police car start to fold up, and you see the other one sort of, completed his transformation. Oh no. And they're pointing their fingers at them because, like GOBOTs can shoot out of their hands. So they can just do like this and it's a gun. And in the cartoon they would make laser beams, appear out of their fists. So it's all there in the text. And so Scooter, gets in front of AJ to block. Turbo lifts up Matt and sticks him inside himself as he transforms, and they drive away, getting shot at by these police bots, these renegade police bots. And now we're back again, trying to have like a lot of wordless sequences. I wanted to make a comic that's very readable, that's very, that just sort of is a reading experience and flows. Less about sort of like stunning spectacle, like stunning splash pages and things, which was a big element of Transformers versus G.I. Joe. I wanted to make more of like a reading experience where I sort of gently take you from one moment or one idea to the next, sort of A to B to C to D, where Transformers, I had a different strategy. Again, I wanted to make 2 very different works. I didn't want to just repeat myself in doing, I wanted to make my 2 transforming robot epics as different from each other as possible. So, fewer jump cuts, more sort of smooth transitions, minimal captioning, and just, allowing you to sort of feel the flow of the story. So they're at the junkyard and you see it, cars being dumped into this crusher, and now it's Leader One's turn. He's operating the machine, and the walls start to come in on Leader One, and we're seeing the shaft of light getting thinner and thinner. Crush! But the crushing sound wasn't Leader One getting crushed. It was the machinery getting crushed by Leader One. We didn't mean it. Let's talk. They're sort of begging off, and now it's their turn. He throws them into the crusher. No, 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 no. And we get this chase. And around this time, I was watching a lot of Burt Reynolds movies. So you're going to see some of that influence come in here too. And of course, Matt here is kind of like a Burt Reynolds kind of character. And so they're getting chased, got these little trails going behind, the red and blue, and then the yellow from them. And they give each other a look. And then they look ahead, road closed. Again, that's like something you'd see in a Burt Reynolds movie. And they crash through it, and now going up over the ramp. Sort of time slows down as they're flying through the air, turbo boost, and now they're hanging from the side of this construction area. That's like this completely dug out sort of pit, and AJ's climbing up, and now the police cars are following, just like a Burt Reynolds movie, and then now they're hanging on to the legs of the good guy GOBOTS, the Guardians of humanity, and they're sort of hanging on. Turbo lifts his leg and gives him a kick, and they go falling down, firing their finger guns all the way down. And they climb up again, completely wordless, just all action. Let the action play out just like it would in an action sequence in a movie. Let's stop here. The liquor store, of course. What are you doing? And then he comes out with his arms full of bottles. Do you have a real bad drinking problem? I can answer that. Pipe down, both of you. Can't you see it's the end of the world? Gentlemen, the GOBOTS have this area all locked up. We're deploying old school tech. We can't trust our smart metal assets. So that's how they refer to, in the military, that's how they refer to the GOBOTS. They refer to them as smart metal assets. We haven't heard word one from Nick. I just hope Leader One hasn't gone renegade. Bring in the big guns. And so, we get some scenes of renegade GOBOT sadism. They have like no moral restraint, and so they are just just terrorizing humanity. So they're at the baseball field. You like to play catch? No, throwing these guys back and forth. They let loose all the animals at the zoo and burn it down. Maybe seeing some kind of kinship between them and the animals in the zoo. Help me, please. I'm hurt really bad. I'm here to rescue you, sir. Thank you. Prepare for surgery. Surgery? This idea of like an ambulance showing up, and instead of it being, this angel, this sort of, agent of healing, they're actually there to dissect and destroy you. I feel like this kind of spun out of some ideas I had for a Transformers versus G.I. Joe sequel. One of the things was going to be that one of the ideas I had was that Dr. Venom's consciousness survived on the brainwave scanner machine. So even though he died, he had before he died put his consciousness, a copy of his consciousness, in the brainwave machine, and that somehow his consciousness gets into Ratchet, the Transformer, and so he's sort of infiltrated the Autobots, and now Ratchet is sort of controlled by the soul of the digital soul of Dr. Venom, and sort of goes on this sort of sadistic surgical rampage. GoBots have an ambulance robot too, so why not use it here? And so now they're at the Tonka building, and again, Tonka was just like a big part of my understanding and appreciation of GoBots as a kid. At least in my mind, they'd sort of evolved out of the Tonka trucks of the previous generation, and so we have the Tonka building, sort of the where GoBots sort of begin, and there's the GoBot assembly line. Can I help you? Don't worry about Spoons. He won't hurt you. He's cantankerous, but he's no killer. And then this sort of engineer or scientist that is living in the Tonka building, I modeled him after Steve Ditko, who has his connection to the GoBots. He drew some GoBots storybooks and some GoBots artwork, and that was something that was sort of a discovery I made a number of years ago, and was kind of very intrigued and pleased that Steve Ditko had worked with GoBots for a little bit. This sort of legendary comics creator, co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and whatnot. Shade the Changing Man, one of my personal favorites. You've got to help us. We're looking for some kind of patch or upgrade that can fix all this. Sorry, kids, but this isn't a problem that software or chips or patches or upgrades are going to solve. This isn't a systems failure. This is a revolution. GoBots began as a fiction. Fiction is the waiting room for reality. We just build them. It's your job to parent them. We gave them independent thought and the ability to judge. We made them like us. They found us lacking. Well, what can we do? You can run and hope they leave you alone. They might find no benefit in chasing down a few strays. Come to think of it, we had a zero-tolerance policy for runaway GoBots. Please show yourselves out. So, he's saying, like, maybe they'll find no benefit in chasing down a few strays and you'll be okay. But then he's like, well, you know what? That wasn't what we did. If a GoBot ran away, we would search and destroy. So, good luck. His his ideas about the world, it's not too far from at least my understanding of Ditko's personal philosophy. So the other option is fight. Then they find these like electrical wires, these telephone wires, where instead of somebody's shoes hanging from it, there's like a bunch of humans hanging from it that GoBots had put there. Now, that was one thing that Hasbro wanted me to tone down. They didn't want a huge body count in this, so I had to remove all but one, because as you'll see, like one of them, there's a little more to the story than you'd think. So I had to. Matt pours out one of the bottles, seemingly in sort of tribute to the fallen, to like all the people that are dead, or at least the one person who's died up there. But there's more to it. Fill these up with what? What do you think? Turbo's going to piss in them, basically. Like Turbo's going to put GOBOT fuel in them. It's bad up here, sir. These GOBOTs are tearing us apart. Ha ha ha. Fightor rules the sky. Again, I get to draw all these GOBOTs, all these toys that like I either had myself or wanted to have as a kid. It's, I hope, you all get the opportunity to, work on some of the properties from your childhood, because it is just so much fun. He's on my tail. I can't shake him. Locking on. I'm toast. Ah! And so from the skies, a rescue comes. That gray jet just saved my skin. Who was it? It's a GOBOT. One of ours. Please help. So we see that guy wasn't actually dead, which is why Hasbro didn't have any problem with me, leaving him up there, but I had to erase everybody else. He's alive. And so they fish him down. T. Coriander Banks, you rat. And we met him in issue 1, TCB. It was all my fault. I've got nobody to blame but myself. I hired a GOBOTICS expert to tinker with their bloodlust levels. I just meant for them to want to fight each other. I thought the first law of GOBOTICS would protect us. What I didn't know was that the military was softening the first law in some of its machines. They made it so GOBOTs could kill people, but only under orders from a designated operator. It was just one line of code, a death equation. So, my Kirby roots coming out here, I had the anti-life equation, and so I have the death equation in here. It spread from GOBOT to GOBOT like a virus. I gave them the desire to do harm. Once you teach a machine to desire, there's no turning back. I never thought Stretch would turn on me. And there's Stretch, it's just really fun taking these sort of sometimes absurd GOBOT designs, like a GOBOT with a top hat, and then turning them into sort of like horror icons. Hey, Stretch, remember me? And so these, he's filled these bottles up with, highly explosive GOBOT fuel, and he's using them as Molotov cocktails. Eat flaming hot GOBOT fuel. And now the fight's on. A couple of the renegades have grabbed Scooter. Stretch has Turbo at his mercy, and then Turbo sort of elbows the ground repeatedly, tunk, and creates a sort of cave-in that he falls into the sewer. The sadism of the renegades, they're just these, very cruel, very nasty, they're robots that are, they're completely 100% bereft. The renegades, once they go bad, they go really bad. They are just completely bereft of any kind of mercy or human, just humanity, I guess you'd call it. I hope you like the taste of tire treads. And so the idea of somebody's tongue getting caught in a spinning wheel, and the pain of that. Get 'em clean, or I'll let Psycho have you. Stop. And Psycho, really cool design and for a toy, and very evocative name. So it's like, yeah, Psycho. I mean, what why would you call a robot Psycho? Let's see. And so just a scary idea. So slowly, out of the shadows steps Psykill. You like humans, do you? Do you? Yes. I like humans too. I like them very much. So yeah, this idea that Psykill, eats people. This man-eating robot, a staple of old-time science fiction. AJ throws down her Molotov cocktail. It explodes on Psykill's chest. Scooter, has his little hero moment, gets to jump into the fray. Matt catches AJ, and then Vamp pulls up. No, help! And it's Braxis. Please. And he's a bit of a sadist himself, and he's got his sort of horror bot behind him, and he's got a big smile on his face enjoying all of this. We were going to teach the humans, show them a better way. And that's Screwhead, who, had his own, close connection to a human being and felt sort of, betrayed by the powers that be, but isn't, is still, not isn't like a sadist, isn't a complete, killing machine like Psykill. We were going to teach the humans, show them a better way. That's exactly what we're doing. And now I do a sort of, John Byrne, Chris Claremont X-Men riff. From the very beginning, I was like, when I was figuring out what to do in this comic, I'm like, Turbo is the coolest GoBot. And so he's going to be the guy, like he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the one everybody's going to want to see have like his hero moments and stuff. And he's like the Wolverine. And so here he kind of literally is the Wolverine. This is a very famous moment in X-Men comics. You had your shot. Now it's my turn. So he's ready. This is like the moment in X-Men when Wolverine became a star, and same for Turbo. We all have a choice, to ride or to be ridden. No, stop, please. I'd make you beg for mercy, but you've already done that. There's only one thing left. No, leave him alone, you big bully. And now here comes the hero. Scream! And it's the showdown. Psykill! This ends now. And we sort of teased the possibility of a battle between the two of them in issue 1. And now it comes to fruition. They're coming right at each other, getting closer, and then they clash. And Psykill is victorious. Don't frack with Psykill. This sort of joust, this joust between GoBots. And now Leader One shows up with his army. And like Leader One, the toy had this sort of, pentagon-shaped face grill, kind of like a Darth Vader thing. But then in the cartoon, he had just like a normal, a nose and a mouth, big smile on his face. So I kind of have both. He has this like face gear that can sort of like retract and come back. And then underneath he has, like a face. And now the face is the gear is kind of broken. And so you see half his face and half the gear. And here they are, the two GoBot gangs. You have the Renegades and the Guardians. And it's time for the big throwdown. And I was kind of thinking of Gangs of New York, for this sequence. And they look and they know we got they're right there in the middle of this battle, these two humans, and it's like we got to get the fuck out of here. Let these GoBots settle their GoBot hash. And so there they are. And the Renegades have the blue background, just like the boxes, the packages for the toys, and the Guardians have their orange gold background. I see you've brought some friends. You're going to need all the help you can get. You don't have a chance against my Renegade army. If you want to be king of the GoBots, you have to fight me like a GoBot. 1-on-1. Boom. Fire. Boom. And so this is like this is like the element that I kind of was inspired from Gangs of New York, of how there's sort of like an army in Gangs of New York. There was sort of like the U.S. Navy had shown up and was in the harbor and just like shooting into the streets, and just explosives are going off as there's this gang war going on. So I sort of have that. The U.S. military has shown up and they're bombing the area from a distance. And so there's just sort of random explosions and bombs going off as the GoBots are settling their war, their sort of internal strife. The humans are making their move. A pity, really. I don't wish to snuff them out completely. So, Psykill calls them humans, kind of like a GoBot name. They would have a lot of hyphenated names. Psykill himself being Psy-Kill. So he's applying that kind of thinking to humanity. I don't wish to snuff them out completely. Who will service us? Make sure we are sufficiently lubricated and our firmware is up to date. Humans have a very important place in my new world. So that's Psykill's vision for the future, a future where there is a place for humans, that humans will be there to serve the needs and the whims and the desires of the GoBots. How did a motorbike get an army to follow him, huh? And this sort of fight sequence, I had sort of, a lot of the elements of this fight sequence were some of the earliest pages I'd sort of drawn, designed, and sort of come up with when I was first, composing this comic. Because again, I knew there was going to be a big showdown between Psykill and Leader One. Maybe I hadn't figured out the particulars of it, but I knew there was going to be a fight. So I sort of got to work on that pretty early. And again, there's certain parts of a story that you just can't wait to work on, and this was one of them. How did a motorbike get an army to follow him? Huh? I wasn't born with the advantages you had. I had to work 10 times harder. I've had special modifications made to my physiognomy. I've opened my third eye, so that little headlight on the top of his head can also fire a laser, which was, an idea I employed with my Psykill toy when I was a kid. And, he shoots Leader One down. He comes crashing down. That all you got? Bazow! One of the explosions from the army firing as Leader One goes into his battle pose. Bam! Another one explodes next to Psykill, giving him this interesting side light. They come together and the fight's on, and Psykill rips Leader One's lower jaw out of place. Leader One shoves him, and again, able to sneak in a little bit of GOBOT blood, get it past the sensors. Leader One, puts his jaw back into place. So we're really doing this. Click. Sort of does a little slice, cuts a little slice out of Psykill's face. It appears we are. And again, the circuitry, underneath the GOBOTS is magenta, make it very visceral. So you really feel the danger of sort of what, exposed, when the skin's cut away. He's got his spinning wheel, but unlike the wheel we saw earlier, Psykill was built to be a gladiator bot, or refitted into a gladiator bot. He's got, retractable blades on his wheels, and they cut away the side of Leader One's face. Now he's getting ready for the foot stomp, and just tearing up Leader One. Then he transforms into a motorbike. I got this little sequence out of an ad for a GOBOTS model kit, and now he's dragging Leader One by his own viscera, his own sort of circuitry that he's ripped out, and he's dragging him. And then Leader One fires his jets to kind of get some control back of the situation, flies into the air and pulls Psykill with him. Ride or be ridden, right? Fool, you'll kill both of us. And then bam, crashes both of them into a wall. I see right through you. You were made for war. You just want this world for yourself. And Leader One gets himself up, opens up his hatch, and inside is Nick, his pilot, his partner, his friend, and Nick is dead. We weren't sure. We haven't seen Nick lately. We know he's in there. We know he's taken a beating, but yeah, Nick is dead, and Leader One cradles him in his arms. His connection to humanity is Nick. Lead us, Leader One. We can ride on to the capital. It's ours for the taking. We do as the humans say. That's the natural order. Let's put things back the way they were. You can't send us back into bondage. What's the word, Leader One? And we go close on Leader One's face. He's a little bit scary with that sort of, half his face removed, look almost like a Bernie Wrightson character. And we just don't know. And it looks like Leader One's not sure. He's not sure what to do, which way to go, and we're not sure. And in my opinion, that's how you end an issue of a continuing story. So that you'll want to find out what happens next. It's just like a really good note to end on, an ambiguous note, and a note that's kind of that where things could go one way or they could go another, and big consequences, and just sort of freeze on that moment of choice, that moment of a fork in the road. Next month, GOBOTS. Welcome to Gobotron. Another one of the maybe the first GOBOT I ever got. Spacey, and very cool design. I always liked it, and I had a lot of fun drawing Spacey. And there's Gobotron in the background. So what's that mean, Gobotron? So far we've only seen Earth. Next we're going to find out about Gobotron. And so we have some variant covers in the back. Here's one of Dash Shaw's variant covers. They were asking me for, people I'd like to do variant covers, and I wanted to bring Dash Shaw on board and see what he could do, and I think he like really hit some home runs out of the park with his cover. Just super inventive, really fit the tone of the comic. Just really interesting formal experiments. And then we got Jim Rugg to do a cover. I wanted him to do a cover for Transformers versus G.I. Joe. And so he did a really great one, really great shot of Optimus Prime and some of the G.I. Joe team. And he came back on board to do a GoBots cover and gave it sort of like a wrestling bent. And I think maybe this is like I think maybe the cover composition is referencing a Dan Clowes 8-Ball issue. I think maybe, but it's got this like wrestling theme. Boogeyman, Dumper, Pincher, Loco, Dozer, really nicely chosen names. The GoBot names, have an absurdity to them that's kind of appealing. Psykill, the Guardians are scrap metal. Leader 1 takes Copter for a spin. Crasher versus Turbo, junkyard brawl. Love it, And then, my cover. Then an ad for a Bumblebee story. Then some various Transformers books. Some G.I. Joe stuff, some Dungeons and Dragons. And then look, there's me. Me in sort of, pop culture heaven, surrounded by, my comics and some other comic. Got my thermos there full of coffee. Hard at work on the next issue. Photo by Gregory Nizer. And got my little bio there. I hope you enjoyed this trip, and I'm going to review the next issue soon, and we'll see what the results were, what Leader One's choice was, and where that leads us for the story. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And you can follow the pre-order link in the show notes below, which will allow you to pre-order I Am Stan. And that same link will also allow you to pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. Please follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli. Please support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and if you join my Patreon, you'll have access to the full archives there and access to new comics and artwork as I post them there. I'll see you on Gobotron.